Raised in Queens, New York, the grandson of Italian immigrants, Francis Ford Coppola was once a 9-year-old boy homebound with polio. But with a tape recorder and a camera by his side, his imagination took seed. Over 6 decades, he would write, direct, and produce over 70 films, both sweeping epics and deeply personal stories, taking big swings to explore who we are as a nation and who we are as human beings. Patton, The Godfather, Apocalypse Now, Dracula, 5 Oscars, 14 nominations. Formed in the San Francisco Bay at an inflection point in history, the Grateful Dead have long since transcended 1960 counterculture. Technical virtuosos fiercely dedicated to their craft, they've fused decades and dozens of musical styles to create a willowy new American sound. Experimental, innovative, and brave. Their lyrics tell the story of dreamers and rebels, where iconic jams are just a performance. They're not just that, but they're an ongoing conversation with generations of devoted fans. Hundreds and hundreds of songs.
All armed actors on the ground maintain good conduct, law and order, protect civilians, and preserve public institutions. Let me urge all Syrians to prioritize dialogue, unity, and respect for international humanitarian law and human rights as they seek to rebuild their society.
South Korean stocks took a fresh hit Monday, reacting to the country's deepening political turmoil. Over the weekend, President Yoon Suk-yeol survived a bid to impeach him over last week's short-lived declaration of martial law. But media reports say he has been named by prosecutors as the subject of a criminal investigation over the incident. And Yoon's own party, which boycotted the impeachment vote, says he will be excluded from his duties and pressed to step down. The country's benchmark Kospi stock index was down over 2% by early afternoon amid the chaos. Blue-chip names are among those to take a hit, with Samsung Electronics and Hyundai Motor both down around 1%. On currency markets, the Korean won traded broadly flat versus the dollar, having endured sharp falls during last week's drama. Over the weekend, Finance Minister Choi Sang-mok said the government was ready to act in the market.
무엇보다도 대외 신인도가 중요합니다.
He said maintaining credibility was the priority and vowed to work with the country's central bank to calm any volatility. Even so, tensions remain high, with uncertainty over Yoon's fate and his grip on power. On Monday, the Defence Ministry said he was still Commander-in-Chief and thus head of the armed forces. But multiple military officials and the acting Defence Minister all said they would refuse to obey any new order to impose martial law.
U.S. President-elect Donald Trump says he plans to pardon rioters involved in the January 6, 2021 Capitol attack on his first day in office. In an interview with NBC News that aired on Sunday, Trump said he would, quote, be acting very quickly. Trump told NBC that there would be some exceptions to his pardons if the individual had acted, quote, radical or crazy during the election. The attack in 2021 left more than 140 police officers injured and led to several deaths. In what has been billed as America's largest ever criminal investigation, at least 1,572 defendants have been charged in the January 6th attack. Crimes range from unlawfully entering restricted grounds to seditious conspiracy and violent assault. More than 1,251 people have been convicted or pleaded guilty, and 645 have been sentenced to prison, with punishments ranging from a few days to 22 years, according to the Justice Department. Trump described the prosecution of his supporters as corrupt and did not rule out pardoning those who had already pled guilty, including those accused of acting violently. Hopes among January 6 defendants and their supporters for broad-based clemency have been growing over the past week.
Mr. Biden, do you think you can get a fair trial?
It comes after President Joe Biden pardoned his son Hunter, marking a reversal from his pledge not to interfere with his son's criminal cases. Biden said Hunter deserved a pardon because he was the victim of political persecution, an argument Trump will likely use to justify mass pardons. Experts told Reuters they were worried broad amnesty for January 6 defendants would wrongly incentivize the fomenting of unrest or even violence on behalf of a president.
Ukraine's teenage boys are facing a tough call to stay and fight or leave the country. As the war marches towards its third year, Ukraine is desperate to bolster its depleted and aging ranks. A month before turning 18, Kyiv native Roman Beletsky left his family and hopped on a train heading west.
Це рішення було дуже складним.
This decision was very difficult. It was very difficult because it was made barely 3 days before leaving.
Вирішено за 3 дні.
The moment the confirmation I could go and study in Slovakia came, we prepared all documents and I left.
Навчатись. Ми одразу підготовили всі документи.
It was very fast, very overwhelming.
Було дуже так швидко, незрозуміло.
I read a lot, I watch the news, talk to people. There are lots of friends I left behind in Ukraine.
У мене дуже багато людей залишилось в Україні.
I miss my country a lot. I miss it very much.
Максимально сильно.
Beletsky's mother said his son made the right decision because it is quite impossible to think of a future back home. Despite the bleak prospects, some teenagers feel it is their duty to join the military. A music school graduate, Andriy Kotik, joined the army in 2022 after he turned 18.
Кожного є своє рішення. Кожен зробив свій вибір. Я нікого.
Everyone decides for himself. Everyone has made their choice. I do not want to judge anyone, but it is a little bit hurtful because in a few days it will be 3 years since I have started serving, and we are all tired. All of us need to be replaced. Sooner or later, everyone will have to serve. Everyone. They need to understand this.
Треба, щоб вони це все зрозуміли.
Ukraine has forbidden most adult males from leaving the country in the wake of Russia's full-scale invasion. The average age of Ukrainian soldiers is in their 40s, according to the Canadian ambassador to the country. Kyiv doesn't disclose such data. There is a growing pressure from allies to recruit more young people, a move Kyiv has rejected. But a recruiter for Kyiv's army said the military needs more young fighters who can bring greater motivation and endurance. Neither Beletsky nor Kotik said they regretted their choices. But some senior officials have openly criticized men of conscription age living abroad while the others are fighting. That's part of an often bitter debate in Ukrainian society, which raises the prospect of rancor and division when the war eventually ends and citizens begin to return.